Hi there, welcome along to Outdoor. Can we start again? Outdoor gear chat. No, roll with it. It's fine. It's setting the standard we've already achieved off air. This is episode 32, spares and repairs, a stitch in time. I'm joined as always by Kathy. Hi.
Hi Wayne, I'm Kathy, and I am the owner, co-owner, and director of the J Brown shops in Snowdonia and the Climber shop in Ambleside. And with us today, in fact, saying outdoor instead of outdoor is actually quite timely, really, because we're going to be
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
yeah. Good
fabric
slip.
and spares and repairs and how to keep your kit lasting as long as possible and giving it some love. And to help us with that, we have an industry expert, Rosanna Watson from Snowdonia Gear Repairs. Hi, Rosanna.
Hello. I'm worried that you call me an expert now. I have to live up to that.
Oh, I've seen some of your work. I'm absolutely confident. So we have our shops in Wales are drop-off points for your repair service that you offer. So we get all sorts of things dropped off. But what's the most common garment repair that you do? Is there one that just comes in all the time?
Yeah, definitely. And it's also my most common question. Is it? Yes, all the time. I about 70% of what I do is zip replacements or zip repairs. And then probably next up is patches. I tend to steer people towards sewn patches. Like if it's something they can do themselves, they can use some tape, buy it in the shop. But yeah, once by the time it needs like a sewn patch, it comes to me. I tend to do like for items, it's usually waterproof jackets and insulated jackets. And then after that, like God knows what, it could be kayak seats, dog beds. I once did a stab vest for a police officer. So it's yeah, luck of the draw after that.
Oh, that's amazing. How did you get into this then, Rosanna?
So I've got the long story and the short story. Which
Go. I don't know how long's long. No, go with the short one.
Go with the short one. So I studied engineering, and I did that for quite a short while. I've always sewn. It was always something I did as I don't know, as a hobby, I guess. I made my own school uniform and stuff with my mum. I've got sewers on both sides. Anyway, I studied engineering, kind of didn't do much crafty stuff because I was so busy studying. Started a job in engineering and then realized pretty quickly I did not like sitting behind a desk. And I was sewing in the evenings to kind of keep myself sane. And then cut forward to in the lockdowns, we moved back up north to be near our parents, and we were visiting so Joss's parents, my other half. They're from Canberra. I'm from Scotland originally, and don't sound it, but I am. And yeah, I just sat up in the night and was like, oh my gosh, engineering, but sewing, outdoor gear, like it's functional, but there's that kind of creative element. It's completely in between. It's definitely like a merge of a creative job and an engineering technical job.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, as we discussed in the other shows before, there's loads of geekery involved
Yeah.
in the technical side of clothing as well, isn't there? So I guess that's what you get, and I guess how to attach different materials to bits of other materials potentially is what you develop an expertise in, I suppose, is it?
Yeah, so I worked for a shop in Betws for a little while as a kind of free apprenticeship. I mean, they paid me, but like before setting up on my own, just to kind of see if it was something I could do, and if there was enough of a market for it. And I got fed up a couple of weeks in and was like, right, I'm making a spreadsheet, and had this huge parts list and stuff, which was from my engineering days. And people were like, oh, I see the engineer now. Like, this really works with this coating, don't use this, and these are the temperatures. And yeah, you could definitely get quite geeky.
And there's a bit of behind the scenes just sneaking in then as well about trial and error, though, isn't there? So you've gone through a bit of that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Usually on a label, they won't tell you, like it'll say nylon or polyester, but it's not going to say, it doesn't even tell you if it's downproof, which I found out the hard way. I did a lovely patch really early on this great big down jacket, and then kind of like fluffed it at the end, and these feathers just like started seeping up through the fabric. And I did a quick Google,
Oh no.
like, oh, soundproof, yeah, that's a thing.
Oh wow.
So yeah, you find out the hard way, but yeah. Sometimes
Yeah,
there's also
I was going to say yeah. But your current customers have got the benefit of all that experience there. That is the important thing, I suppose. Yeah, so we'll come back to the off-air chat where we were spoiling the content a little bit. So I've got a pair of Hagloss trousers that the zipper's gone, and yet that zip, so it keeps popping at inappropriate times. So stuff like that you can sort as well. But I'm leading on to the question which we had off air was. I've split my trousers. Can I drive to your house and have you fix them? Sort of thing. Is that you get a lot of that as well from what you were saying?
Yeah, I definitely. I think so far I've had a lot of locals. I think there's a lot of people that live in Llanberis and around North Wales that they don't just have outdoor gear for the weekend. Like it must be one of the only towns in the UK where all of the parents at the bus stop are wearing Patagonia. So yeah, it's definitely, if there was any place that a brand wanted to test gear, this is the place to do it. Like Trevan keeps me in business. It's so good point. But yeah, I get quite a lot of locals, quite a lot of I guess more visitors in the summer, or like if the conditions are really good, if there's snow and ice, and a lot of stuff from the mountain rescue guys. But yeah, do you want me to answer the zip? Do you want me to?
No. Sorry, it was just leading into the split trousers question. Really, just back to your point about Trevan. There is it because the rocks are helping your business out, for want of a better phrase? Are people splitting or hooking on rocks and so on, and that's what repairs are needed for?
It's definitely quite rough ground. I think if you so I'm from Galloway, southwest Scotland, and I think I had my first pair of walking boots when I was like 14, and then had the same ones until I came to Llanberis, and Josh was like, well, we have to go up Snowdon at least once. Let's buy a pair of boots. And I was like, oh, where are we going to buy those?
What, in Llanberis?
But I think
even the cafes in Llanberis sell them, don't they?
I think both. Part of the reason that there's so many repairs here, but also part of the reason there's so many outdoor gear shops, it's not just the volume of customers, there's so many different terrains. In Galloway, you can basically climb everywhere in a pair of wellies.
Yeah.
And a simple pair of trousers. But here, if you're going up a scramble, you're probably going to be going down on your knees or your bum. Right. If you're on the beach, you're going to be something different. Like there's just such a variety, and especially the harsh rock makes a big difference. Climbing really wears out kit because you've got quite sharp kit. Like the other stuff that you're wearing, harnesses really wear stuff out. Crampons really wear stuff out. Ice axes, you've got loads of sharp equipment. But also the range of movement, like it's going to stretch and pull stuff as well. I think that's my theory so far. But
fair theory, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, certainly an educated one. And so you're looking at abrasion issues, really, aren't you, with moving against the rock, and then seaming stress issues with moving your arms and moving your legs and pulling the fabric apart where it's joined. And then good old crampons and ice axes are just holes. They're very good. It's really easy to put a hole in your gorgeous, expensive new trousers, in particular in the ankles. You just one wrong foot and that's it. There's a crampon spike through your trousers and you burst into tears and weep with with woe.
It's I think, like, having said that there's a lot of abrasion stuff, I don't know if it's a direct 50-50 split between wear and tear, like abrasion, ripping stuff, and then just use, like long-term use. If you were to use the jacket to go dog walking every day, it still would have broken, which is zips don't break from a rocky surface. No. Zips break like a limit
up
and down.
And
I think that's maybe also common here because, like I said, everybody wears their gear all the time and outdoor instructors and stuff, so they live in it. But also people go out in quite extreme conditions here. I think in other parts of the world, if it was cold or if, it was cloudy. I couldn't believe Josh last winter. I'm part Norwegian, so I'm pretty snobby when it comes to snow. And it was like shocking. You couldn't see anything. And he was getting all his gear out, like, oh my God, the snow's here, I've got to go.
I love that. Yeah, this isn't proper snow.
Yeah.
It's snowing.
No. Wait till it's a couple inches deep.
Yeah.
Oh no, you've got to be fast in this country if you want snow and ice.
Yeah.
In fact, often as you're climbing, it's melting below you. I've been on routes where it's been happening.
Well, I guess it's interesting, isn't it? Because a few of our guests have said if a piece of kit can survive a Welsh or Scottish summer, I think was one somebody had said, then it's going to do well no matter where you are in the world. So that's
yeah. And
we're definitely pretty tough on kit here.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got zips on a lot of different areas. So can you replace all zips? So obviously down the front of a garment, but pocket zips or sleeping bag zips or tent zips or zips on rucksacks? Can you do all those?
That's a very good question. So the easiest thing to replace is usually I'd say a jacket zip, but they vary hugely depending on construction. The hardest thing to replace is usually a pocket zip. It all depends how the thing's been put together. So I think I will have a standard price list at some point, but I'm still in the process of working out exactly how to write it.
Well, that makes sense, because they'll all be every garment's made differently, isn't it? And I suppose it depends at what stage of the process certain components are put together.
Exactly. So the hardest one I've done so far was actually for somebody that works in the Kiambera shop, and they had put the zip between two bits of fabric, sewn it, and then they'd stuffed that fabric with the down and then sewn the baffles in. So to get the zip out fully, you would have had to take all of the feathers out of the jacket, which is a very big process. So there's also a couple different methods to put stuff in. So I really hate doing pocket zips. So sometimes I'll do like a Velcro flap over the top, or even sew the zip to the outside or something. Sometimes I think I've seen it more and more people start to talk about repairability. It's not just how you put it together, it's how you plan to take it apart. Or even if you don't necessarily need to go back to where you were. So a lot of the time I'll cut zips out. I won't unpick them, especially on, say, like a thin down jacket. The fabric's getting so thin on this stuff now. If you unpick it, it doesn't recover like a simple cotton t-shirt would. So if you cut it out and sew the zip and fold it over, sometimes it's actually less damaging to the fabric.
That makes sense.
That's amazing as far as a sustainability thing goes, or that we've got that theme, haven't we, that's emerging about how you can repair stuff or repurpose or whatever as time goes by. And it's another interesting one for product design perspective then, isn't it, is how you actually do that. Is if something fails in a certain aspect of it, it needs to be able to be repaired in that way. Fascinating.
But this is all an additional sort of process that goes in, and it's another kind of hidden cost when you sort of come in to our shops and you sort of take a step back and go, blimey, the price on that garment is huge. There's so much hidden stuff that goes into that garment, the design and looking at the repairability. That all takes time and an experiment to put that into practice. So if you see that kind of blurb going on in the product or in the product information, it's not always readily available. That's sort of where shop staff can come in and to help you talk about that and help you make a decision to buy the right item. But it's all invisible, and it's all extra work that's gone into that garment that may just sort of lift the price that little bit higher.
There's definitely, I've always been quite cheap with clothes, because we could sew, but we weren't very well off. And I grew up, and my dad just lives in dungarees. He's a fisherman. He has a smokehouse, but he just lives in yellow wellies and dungarees. And my mum, she was an outdoor instructor, but kind of before it was so inclusive, I guess you can call it inclusive now. So she was sewing a lot of her own kit, because they literally didn't make backpacks for women. So she was altering stuff or making her own trousers and things. And when I kind of suggested the idea of doing outdoor gear repairs as a business, my fear was that people wouldn't want to spend the money, because I had no idea how expensive this stuff was.
Right, yeah.
There's definitely, it's not always, price is not always quality.
No,
really not always. There's
Yeah.
some stuff that, not to point fingers and poke holes, but there's definitely some brands that you're paying for previous research they've done, but there are a few brands that you can't really tell till you start unpicking it why it's so expensive, but it's worth every penny. Like on the surface, there's a lot of Buffalo smock copies, but if you take them apart and put them next to each other, you can tell very quickly. So there's one jacket I did recently. It was a Patagonia jacket. And do you know what an overlocked seam is?
I don't know.
So you have a normal seam is where you sew two bits of fabric together and you just see little short lines of the stitching going together. An overlock is where you tidy up the edge. So instead of having the fabric fray, you put like a loopy seam down the side. It's usually like 3 or 4 threads down the side. An overlock seam is a real pain to unpick because obviously there's so many threads. Inside the jacket, I was doing 2 jackets at the same time, Patagonia and another popular brand. And the Patagonia item, all of the pieces of the jacket had been independently overlocked. So you didn't have to unpick, you only had to unpick one seam. It makes no difference to the wearability of the jacket. The person wearing it couldn't tell. You wouldn't be able to tell when you bought it in the shop. It's only, unless you got out a pair of scissors. But it just made it, so much easier to fix, but so much longer to make. It would have been twice the time to make it.
Oh,
and when I looked at the items, the Patagonia one, sure enough, was £120 more.
But I guess one reason why Patagonia is so trusted and lasts so long, and so many people swear by them, don't they? Yeah. So
they still make their fair share of mistakes, but
well, yeah. I guess that's
But yeah, I think this is the really good thing about brands now offering repair services more and more. They're obviously RAB's repair services, no competition to me, but I'm all for it. Like I often tell customers, if it's within warranty, go to them, nag them. The more you tell them, the more they're going to feed that stuff back, and the better the next product you buy will be.
And that's it. They change the manufacturing. Yeah. Brilliant.
The only problem is that sometimes those decisions are made, well, you'll both know, like years and years in advance. Through. But if people, even with the cost of living crisis now, if people keep their gear for longer, design will improve because of it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and that
Sorry, Wayne.
Sorry, Kathy. Go on. No.
I'm just going to go back to the olden times when I worked in the industry representing an American company in the UK, and they had their warranty department, and they ended up putting one of their jackets, hanging it up in their warranty department, and every time a waterproof jacket came in that needed a repair, the location of that repair, they just got a black marker, and on their one jacket hanging up in their warranty department, they just made a mark on it to show where that repair was. And by the end of a year, they'd got a jacket that had very clearly black shoulders and a black band around the base, so exactly where your rucksack would wear, essentially. And that actually dictated a key garment that was in their range for a really long time. And they kept that black colour in, actually. And so all of that information, can get fed back if you're buying from a reputable company that are working with their warranty department and looking at the whole story. That information will get fed back into design without a doubt.
Yeah, awesome. It's good to know, isn't it? And like you say, that there was a particular switch, I think, in design, weren't there, when suddenly the shoulders became strengthened in all manner of different brands, and suddenly because I remember, I had it just wore through on my shoulders. You could see it like delaminated on the inside, and then it started on the outside as well. And you're like, well, that's not great, is it? I've paid, like you say, I've paid a fair amount of money for this. Just starting to ask more some of the technical questions, Rosanna. You mentioned, I think, pocket zips being one of the worst bits. Now, one of the questions that we had on our list was about draw cords, and that would absolutely be up there for me as far as pulling the end off or pulling them out somehow. Can those be sorted, or is that just a super faffy job?
It often. Again, my standard answer, it depends on the construction. if it's the little end stopper thing, they're super easy to replace. A lot of the, I'll start my rant about lightweight gear soon.
Yeah,
We're leading that way. But yeah, a lot of the ends, like the plastic stoppers on lightweight gear especially, if you take them apart, you should be able to take them apart, but the bits of plastic are so tiny they'll just snap. So as soon as you snap them, you've got to find a new one. I tend to beef stuff up, so if I put a new one on, it'll probably be a slightly beefier one because it's easier to buy them as well. In terms of like actually putting the cord back in, it's a really common problem, and I think it's an even more common warranty problem. Like obviously I don't see as much warranty stuff, because you're essentially sewing a round thing to a flat thing, and you'd have to go back and forth numerous times, and the people in these factories are being sometimes paid per item, or they're being told, like I heard recently that you can stitch count on a industrial sewing machine. You can see how fast you're going, and they'll actually put a black box, and you have to keep your stitch count above a certain speed or you get the sack. So they're being told to sew as fast as possible. So anywhere where you need to go back and forth a couple times, and if you just spent an extra minute, it would be stronger. They just don't have the time to do. So yeah, draw cords are a really, really common one. They're quite easy to do. As long as you try and keep it in for as long as possible. Like if it's pull out one end, like feel at the other end, and then like tuck it in so it doesn't get any further. Pull it out any further, if that makes sense. But it usually is something that unless you can feed it round, like a hood face draw cord, you can just feed round. A tip if you're doing it at home, a lot of people will try and use a safety pin, but which I used to do, but sometimes the safety pin will come unpopped, and then you'll have a super sharp thing inside a jacket which really doesn't like sharp things. So you can use something called a darning needle, which is used for darning wool, and it's got a blunt end, and that's one of my top tools I would use for rethreading.
Where can you get those from? Yeah.
just Google darning needle.
You'll do yourself out of business. No.
Have a look in your grandma's sewing box.
Yeah. Well, it's dead interesting. Loads of the stuff you're talking about. My sister does loads of knitting, amongst many other crafty things. But and sort of started doing other bits of sewing as well. And she's got I've got to use the word, a plethora of different tools like that now, which she uses for all sorts of stuff. And earlier on, way back in the comment, you mentioned about MRT mountain rescue teams coming with repairs, and I guess that struck a chord with me as far as adaptations as well. And you mentioned like a police stab vest, but really struggling today. A stab vest. All right, Casey, this is just too much content for her now. If I can get all my mockery back in one show, I will do. Honestly, Rosanna, I don't know whether you've listened to any of the other ones, but I've got her so many times. Sorry. But those adaptations, I guess, I guess it's never ending though, isn't it? The stuff you can do to kit.
I'll get someone will ring me up and go, "Oh, is there any chance you could do a zip?" And I go, "Yeah, sure. What length? Fine. Drop it off, standard charge." And they go, "Oh, all right. Oh, that's okay." And then they'll come back and be like, "I've got this rip in these trousers," and then it will keep going. And email number 5 will be, "I've got this bag and I like to pocket from here, but it doesn't quite fit my radio. Could you put this little elastic strap?" And actually, that's one of my favorite things to do because it's so functional. If you can picture someone, like I've done sewing on a Saturday when someone's been in a rush and, "Oh my God, I've got training on Monday. Can you do it now?" This isn't advertising that I'm always open on Saturdays, by the way.
You have a line.
Yeah. But if you can just on Monday morning imagine that person up on the hill in the wind and the rain looking down and their radio stayed where it is just because you put some tiny elastic loop, is so satisfying. Like all of those little irritating things when you're wearing something, like we have to wear clothes all the time, but so often we're not that comfortable in them, or they don't quite fit. Like back in the day when we used to get stuff custom made, everything, I don't know, we were used to having stuff fit to us, and it's now people are so tentative when they go, "Is there any way you could alter this for me. Yes, that's a possibility. But yeah, especially the mountain rescue guys, because they use their stuff so much, they'll come in and be like, I need a 3-inch piece of webbing adding 2 centimeters below this stopper. Which is great.
Well, that's a funny thing, isn't it? Yeah, kit is so personal like that, because you are, I don't know. Yeah, historically, I've found myself reaching, I don't know, for example, to my hip for something, and it's not quite there. It's a bit higher or lower than it should be, and you're like, well, it'd be really frustrating. And I was going to say, I actually went to a cobbler's for a bunch of kit modifications, and I was just in absolute awe of what they did. And it's exactly what you're describing. You know, he just looked at it and went, yeah, absolutely, I'll just stick a bit of webbing on there. I was like, what? Yeah, it's like, oh, what?
Yeah, nowadays. But it used to be the thing everybody did. Everything was custom.
Well, absolutely commonplace. Yeah,
it all got it. Yeah, it was all make, do, amend, wasn't it? And it's and I think, you know, if your kit tells the story, it's great. You know, I love seeing people come in and they use kit and it's been repaired or it's completely faded, and I'm just like, oh, cool, this person's obviously been going out and doing loads of great stuff and got tons of stories. How brilliant. But no, I love it. But what about the old faithful, for the go-to fix-all duct tape? Should we use that?
I thought you were going to get that. Yeah, I thought you were going to get that.
Are there any occasions when you shouldn't use duct tape, perhaps, is a better question.
So I had someone come in and say, could you fix this jacket? But I put this bit of duct tape on in, I don't know, the Himalayas or somewhere cool. And I really want to keep it there because it's a memory.
Oh, wow.
And imagine on a thing, you're walking around covered in duct tape, which means you must be a climber, like you're hardcore. I will upset people when I say never, ever, ever use duct tape. Carry it in your bag as a first aid thing. If a buckle breaks, it's great for that. It's great for straps. It's just generally a good first aid thing. But as a garment repairing tool, don't do it. Basically what happens, all the glue stays behind and it comes into me, and I spend 20 minutes cleaning off the glue and 5 minutes patching it, and it should have been a 5 minute. The glue is just hopeless. There's loads of really good tapes out there. You stock quite a few in the Joe Brown shops, I know.
We do.
There you go.
I have in my hand. I bought some up with me because I can never remember the names of them. But we've got Gear Aid, we've got Tough Tape, we've got Storm Shore, we've got field repair buckles and all sorts of things. But certainly where fabric's concerned, we've got probably a different tape for every different type of fabric, I think it's fair to say. So on that advice, I should be adding some to my kit when I go away on expedition later in the year, and keep my duct tape, footwear and poles and other such things.
It's easy to get overwhelmed with the tapes, but just to say, usually either Gear Aid tenacious tape or Tough Tape are a safe bet for anything. If you're like, oh, I don't know what coating this is, I'm confused. Tough Tape is waterproof. Tenacious tape sticks really well to down jackets. And if you're on a budget, Spinnaker tape, just standard Spinnaker sail repair tape, is also really good.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't know that one. Yeah, brilliant.
That is, weirdly, I didn't know those things existed. I knew there was like neoprene and all the rest of it, but I must admit, I've bypassed that section of your shop, Kathy. I'm sorry.
Wayne, honestly, I'll give you a personal tour.
I was going to say how I've bypassed any part of your shop is beyond me, to be honest. But anyway.
Quite a small section compared to the massive shiny coats. I can see how you could be like, ooh.
Well, yeah, and sleeping bags and rucksacks and food and yeah. I need another map. Yeah, I need another map. Yeah,
one thing when you were just talking about repairability, Rosanna, that we've got we've had in recently are field repairable dry bags. So when you've got your little Fastex buckles, if it's just on the ground and you accidentally step on it, you're on a paddling trip, suddenly you don't have any form of waterproofing the stuff in the bag. So these are buckles that have a small metal circular dowel, for want of a better word, and you can just pop that out with a screwdriver and pop a new buckle on, and away you go. So there's as well as keeping spares of Fastex buckles in all manner of different diameters, we've also got cord locks for draw cords and things like that as well, and we've also got little zipper tabs. So if you break the tab off your zipper, you don't necessarily need to go and have a full zip repair. You can put on one of these little magic zipper tabs that will fit almost any zip, and most importantly, it will fit almost anywhere on the zip. So if you've damaged the base of it, you can put this zipper tab on further up. They're ingenious little inventions, but they can be a really handy little thing to carry with you as well. I mean, you don't have to shell out for an entirely new garment.
I definitely recommend having a first aid kit for your gear as well as you, because if you're up a hill and your rucksack strap pulls out or your zipper pops, like zippers especially, once they're gone. Like often you can't, there's no sort of half you can't sort of tie it together. But either what you said or cable ties are quite good as well. If I'm going to have to replace the full zip anyway, then have something.
Definitely. And actually, you can cross-use your first aid kits as well, because we had a situation where one of our down sleeping bags got ripped, and there was down all covering the tent, and the only thing we had was a like a burn dressing stuck on it. So we did first aid on our sleeping bag. Yeah, it was a really old one. It had been on lots of books. So it's, in fact, I think we kept its little bandage. Actually, it's still got it on.
Oh, I can put fresh one in if you need.
It's
you want the memory.
I'll drop it off next time I'm down.
It is kind of a good point about double checking your gear before you go. I think it's easy to just throw on your kit or like take out your tent and not think that anything could go wrong. But it's definitely a good, especially fixtures, so any like buckles and stuff, if you can get anything that's like, I think sometimes buckles break because they've got grit in them, and then as you pull them apart it like sticks. But again, anything, if you're going to if you're going to maintain one thing on your item, make it the zip, because 70% of what I do is zips, which means there's a 70% chance that the first thing that goes on your item will be the zip.
And what's a tip for maintaining zips then, Rosanna? What would
if you flip them over and look at the back of the zip, you can usually tell the quality. I'm a windsurfer and a kayaker, so all of my stuff is salty. So if you can wash the zip, and it sounds pretty gross, but even if it means like if your zip is sticking a little bit on, say like a buoyancy aid or something that goes in the salt, sounds gross, but like spit on it or put some fresh water on it can help. There's all sorts of zipper lubricants and cleaners that you can get. Gear Aid do some. There's a bit of a debate about whether you should use silicone or not, or beeswax or not, whether it bungs it up, but something's probably better than nothing. And then just keep an eye on it, and if you notice it's beginning to go, this is really hard to do like verbally rather than visually, but the way a lot of zips go is so you've got two parallel bits of the zip, the front part and the back part, that slide up and down, and they pull the thing together. And over time, if you imagine you're always pulling it together the same way, it starts to misalign. And a zipper slider I can do on its own, costs £15 for me to do. You just have to snip off the top stop, feed on a new slider. I've got a huge box of all sorts of different sizes sliders, and that's job done, and it doesn't take very long at all. So you can have the jacket or whatever back really quick. If it's a full zip replacement, if you want it colour matched, you want a specialty zip or something, it could take a lot longer to order the parts. So if you can catch it when it's just coming out of line, because what will happen is it'll come out of line, open up at the bottom, but then begin to pinch at the top. So when you push the zip together with the other, so the bit of the zip that goes into the slider is the pin. If you push the pin in to, like, you're ramming it into a pinch section, it's going to rip the pin off, which is the other way that zips go,
right?
Which means the whole thing needs to be done, like replaced. So I definitely suggest keeping an eye on your sliders, and if you feel they're either really loose or really tight, it's just a really quick fix, and it saves you having to do the whole thing.
So I've got a large box of kit coming your way now as a result of this conversation, including my dry robe. Just on that basis, my dry robe zip has been going through. Yeah, really, yeah.
Mine's crusty with salt. I've been really bad at not replacing.
Yeah, mine never seemed to be right, and it's just got worse and worse. And I know, well, it popped the wrong way the other day, but yeah. Oh well, that's but these tiny things, like you say, we're investing a lot in our kit, and it's a tiny thing that goes wrong, isn't it? And it's fairly catastrophic if you're up a mountain in the middle of a howler, and suddenly your zip breaks because you've been a bit rough with it. I guess you've answered loads of your top tips as we've gone along. We normally get to this point and go, so what's your top tip? But you've given us about 12, I think. So please don't be. As always when we do these, it's just fascinating seeing stuff from a different angle and going, oh yeah, that's why my kit fails, or this is why X, or I can get stuff repaired. It's interesting. We'll come back to that pair of trousers. I was just gonna stick them on eBay and go, the zip needs repairing, but actually they cost me a fair chunk of cash, and it'll cost you. You could probably repair it and have it back to me for very little money in the grand scheme of things for a great pair of trousers. Yeah. Sorry, Kathy. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to ask. I know we've talked a lot about clothing and a bit about rucksack straps and stuff like that, but tents are obviously a huge investment. They can just get damaged really easily as they get sort of lighter and lighter and lighter. If I'm assuming you can do like inner repairs, fly sheet repairs, zip repairs, things like that, Rosanna. For sort of fly sheet repairs, can you get your repair as waterproof as the original sort of undamaged fabric, if you like?
So there's two ways to do it. If you've got a hole or you've had to stitch it, so you've obviously had to put holes in it. You can either use tape or you can use liquid sealant. Tapes you can do at home, but you'd need a heating element, so like an iron. And home irons aren't always that reliable on the temperature, and sometimes it can be a 10-degree difference between melting the item and not being hot enough to melt the glue on the tape. The way that a lot of the tapes are applied commercially is they actually put hot air onto the tape and not the fabric. So sometimes the fabric won't even take any heat, which makes it really hard to repair. So if you're doing it at home, liquid sealant's the best bet. If you go on Gear Aid's website, they've got a really good list of which tape and which glue should I use. If you're not sure about the tent, if you bought it at Doe Brown's or the Climbers Shop, go back in and ask, because they'll know. Or ask the manufacturer and say what coating is on the tent. The most important thing is the coating, and then which glue should you use according to if it's silicone or whatever.
Perfect.
But yes, you can definitely doable until it's like threadbare. Then maybe it's time to reinvest.
You mentioned earlier on in the conversation about repairability and so on, and sustainability has been a big theme for us throughout different podcasts that we've done. What would your tips be on finding, I don't know, maybe not necessarily specific brands, but finding stuff that can be repaired quite easily? Have you got any top tips on that?
So, like you said, I definitely avoid just picking a brand and look at the item on its own. If you Google most durable, most sustainable, just have a think while you're reading all the marketing, who's writing it. The person who's writing this garment is designed to be durable. It's probably not a repairer. It's probably somebody in a marketing team. So the best place to get really honest advice is often not from the brand at all. It's from like Facebook groups, podcasts, repairers, or if you're in a shop, if you're in person, it's a really good idea to go in, and the guys are going to be honest because you know where they live. So if you're upset with it, you're going to come back and complain. In terms of actually deciding when you see an item, it's really hard to do online. So again, if you can get to a shop, if you're thinking about buying some gear, just go and have a look and even think like, oh, okay, mountain equipment's got what I want, or maybe I'm going to go Montane or wherever, whoever. It'll just help you get a better idea. To look at the actual garment, the biggest tell is a seam allowance. So that's the gap between the edge of the fabric and the stitch line. The skinnier the steam allowance, usually the less durable the item. If you look at the old stuff, some of the vintage Carrymore bags, their steam allowance is about 4 times that of a modern backpack. It's in inverted commas, it's weight saving, but it's the actual weight saved is minuscule. What it really is more accurate cutting technology. Now we've got laser cutting, more accurate machines, faster machines, and it's just cheaper.
And cost efficiency, isn't it?
It's cost efficient. So look at the stitching. You can rub the thread a little bit, and if the thread goes fluffy, it might be a cheaper thread. Anything like cords or webbing, you're going to hate me, Kathy, for saying this, but if you break it in the shop, that's better than breaking it on the hill. And there's a chance if you break it in the shop that the shop will get the money back from the brand. If you break it on the hill and then proceed to spill your mug of tea all over you, you might have voided the warranty because it's going to look really used. So when you try the thing on, properly tug on everything. Like we have this thing about, we've got 2 vans, and one of them is a Monday van and one of them is a Friday van. Your jacket might be made on a Friday afternoon when the person was just desperate.
I like that. That's it.
So, you could just, it could just be an anomaly. So properly pull on everything, tug on anything. And then final tip is just look at the brand's repair policy. If they have a really good repair policy and if they have good reviews, look at their Instagram posts about their repairs. If they have a bad repair policy, there will be hundreds of comments saying, where's the answer to my email? If they have loads of comments being like, they did a really good job, then chances are they're going to be more durable. They're going to be making more durable items.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you. And I guess we might have to come at another point back to your light and thin fabric point. I guess because thin fabric might not last so long. So thank you very much for joining us, Rosanna. That was episode 32, Spares and Repairs, a stitch in time.
Thank you, Rosanna. That was absolutely fascinating. We have links for Snowdonia Gear Repairs, Rosanna's company, available in the show notes. And we will also very shortly on our Joe Brown Outdoor Academy website have a page dedicated to spares and repairs as well. So you can see where you can go to get different items fixed. And also there'll be links to our key brands who all offer in-house repair facilities in this country as well, which is a really key thing. So you can find more information on our shop page at www.climbers-shop.com, and also on the Joe Brown Outdoor Academy, which is www.joebrownoutdooracademy.com.